My name's Christine Penzimas, and I am the owner and founder of Sparkles Heavenly Creations. I have been crafting my entire life. It is just a huge passion of mine. About a year and a half ago, I decided to open up Sparkles Heavenly Creations after I actually lost my job in the financial industry. And so I had a few months, about 6 months, where I was searching for a job. And during that time, I wanted to keep myself busy. And so I decided to teach myself how to epoxy tumblers. And so during that time, I found an even bigger passion is creating tumblers for people and actually creating and developing things for them or their loved ones that they could cherish and really represent their love of whatever, whether it's, you know, favorite colors, favorite characters, favorite dragons, whatever. It's been a very fun trip for me. However, I live in Chicago, and with that comes the wonderful weather that Chicago offers. And so I've been doing my epoxy tumblers inside my house. And I have a little ranch, and so I've been having to do it with no basement, for the record. And so I've been having to do my epoxy tumblers in my living room. And I have, you know, family and pets here in the house with me. And as I started, you know, researching more and more about epoxy and some of the negative aspects of it, especially without the proper ventilation or the proper gear to protect myself and protect the people in my house. Mixing those two chemicals together provides. And so I have started looking into what's alternatives. And so today, what I hope to do is showcase a new epoxy-free product that I have been leveraging with great success called CrystaLac. So about 2.5 months or so ago, I was introduced to David Shepard and his company called CrystaLac. And they offer a more water-based solution for tumblers. So you are still getting that hard look and feel that you get with epoxy without all of the negative side effects that it takes for, you know, actually mixing epoxy and using it, especially within your home. So what I have today is 2 cups that I made, almost identical, and one with epoxy and one with the CrystaLac product. The CrystaLac products that I use in this specific example is their Universal White, which is a base coat. And then I also use their Extreme Protection and their Bright Tone products. And so the combination of those products created this end result. So let's showcase the differences. Here is my epoxy cup, and here is my CrystaLac cup. From initial look, the first thing you're gonna notice is how big and clunky my epoxy cup is compared to my CrystaLac cup. There is a huge difference in weight and bulkiness between the 2 cups. I mean, you can see how much fatter this epoxy cup is compared to the CrystaLac cup. It's a huge difference to me. The other big thing, especially with this cup, is the differences between the water slide. If you look closely, look at how much clearer this water slide is under the CrystaLac product versus how dull it looks under the epoxy cup. And you can even see that here with the American flag. Again, I use the same water slide. I use the same sealers for both of those. So that was not a difference. They are the same. So again, right off the bat, you see a lot of differences between the 2 cups. Mostly, to me, the bulkiness, and then also the clear the clearness of the water slides. Now, a few additional things. With epoxy, I don't know about you, but I have to have either my heat gun or my torch. Epoxy is very temperamental, and so you are constantly babysitting this cup. babysitting and babysitting and babysitting. Micro bubbles, fish eyes, all of that stuff. The cool thing about CrystaLac is that I don't have to deal with that. There is nothing that you're going to do with it. I don't have to babysit it like I do the epoxy cup. What's great about the CrystaLac product is the ability to, you don't use heat. If you do have an air bubble or you see a bubble, you just blow it with a straw or a canned air or even your mouth. It's super easy to use, and I feel like it is a great product, especially for maybe your first time tumbler makers and things like that, because there's not as much babysitting involved. Now, if you want to make the switch, there's a lot that you have to know, and I'm going to continue to showcase that here today a little bit, and then I'm hoping to bring additional tutorials to you to showcase things that I've learned within my CrystaLac journey, switching from epoxy to CrystaLac for my cups. A few other things I wanted to showcase to you is here on this chunky glitter. I use a mirror glitter here, and I don't know about you, but normally whenever I'm gonna try and get this to be a little bit more clear, but whenever I am using especially a mirror type of effect, I get tons of little micro bubbles, and I don't know, yeah, you can kind of see them like right here. They're super tiny, they're impossible to get rid of. They're very, I can see them very well. With CrystaLac, look how much clearer that is. There's no micro bubbles. You can see the mirror reflection directly. No gazing or the micro bubbles messing with that. It's way, you can see, maybe if I held them a little bit the right way, you can see how much more light reflection is coming with the CrystaLac cup. So those are kind of, some of the benefits of the differences between, at least that I've seen so far, with especially this example where I did two identical cups, one with epoxy and one with CrystaLac. I really wanted to see the difference. Side-by-side comparison, weight-wise, how long it took, etc. Now, a few things to note about CrystaLac. CrystaLac is a lot thinner of a product. There's no mixing. I just apply the coat and I move on. With CrystaLac, it takes a lot more layers than it does with epoxy to get the finished product. And so if you were used to epoxy, making the switch from epoxy to CrystaLac takes a lot of patience, because you need a lot more coats to get that glass-like finish, glass smooth-like finish that you're used to with epoxy. And so what, that's my number one rule whenever I talk to anybody or whenever I mentor anybody in regards to CrystaLac is you need patience. Just be patient, because at first it takes a while. This cup right here probably has a good 12 to 15 coats of CrystaLac product on it. That seems like a lot. It seems like, oh my gosh, well, it's gonna take me forever to get my cups done. Well, the cool thing about CrystaLac is that you apply a coat to it, you spin it for an hour. You don't even really need to spin it. You can hang dry it and it's gonna be fine as well. But you spin it for an hour and then you put it on a drying rack for another 3 hours or so. And then I pull it right back off the drying rack, back onto my turner, and I do another coat. So every 4 hours, I can do a coat of CrystaLac. And so what I've noticed is that I'm getting a lot more tumblers done at once compared to epoxy. Also with epoxy, I would only do 1 coat per day, and do the second coat the next day. But the other cool thing about CrystaLac is, hey, your tumbler falls off the turner. I don't know how many times it's happened to you. It's happened to me. And with epoxy, I had to wait for it to cure. Then I have to go and sand the heck out of it to be able to do another coat. With CrystaLac, if it's within the first hour and it hasn't dried yet, I can literally go to my sink and just wash it off with water. Just water will wash it right off. And then I can start again. It has been a lifesaver in that regard. And I continue to buy more products to make sure that my turners or my tumblers don't fall off the turner. So invest in some of that too, because that's a pain. Let's see what else. The dry time or the cure time. So I believe with KS resin, that's what I use. I use KS resin. So I think the cure time for KS resin is about 72 hours. And realistically, after talking to David with the owner of CrystaLac, it actually takes a good 30 days to fully cure a CrystaLac cup. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean I can't send it to a customer until 30 days is up? No. So the cool thing about it is that it does dry fast, right? Each layer dries fast, but the combination of all of the different layers, it continues to harden over time. And that's within the 30-day period, is that they're guessing it's going to be on average 30 days, basically based on the number of on average, different coats that you are leveraging, along with the different temperatures that you have. David mentioned one of his videos in the Epoxy Free Tumbling group that basically they had a few cups that were cured within, fully cured within 2 weeks. So it really just depends on how many layers you're doing, how intricate, how many other chemicals or additions are you adding to the cup that may alter that cure time. Now, the cool thing about it though is that it's dried to the touch within an hour. And so you can start leveraging, truly using it with decaling and things like that within that 4-hour window. But what we've determined, or at least experimented with the folks that have been using CrystaLac in the tumbler world, is that you can actually mail it out to a customer or start using it gentle use within about 4 days after the last coat has been completed. So there are a few differences on the cure time set, but everything else is at least for me, feels so much better in terms of the CrystaLac coverage and cure times and things like that. Now, price-wise, that's obviously a huge question. Now, I've gone through a lot of different epoxies, just testing things out, determining what I like, what I don't like, what my temperature in my house likes, what they don't like, what works well for you, may not work well for others, etc. So I started with Promarine, and I didn't have any issues with Promarine. It worked for me. It is a lot cheaper than some of the more pricier epoxies. I then decided to try Faux Rizzle UV. Again, that was very similar to Promarine, and it was more pricey. So what I decided to go back to Promarine. Then I started getting a lot more bubbles and just things like that. And I was seeing a lot of good results with a few different other epoxies. So after a little research, I decided to go with KS resin, and that's what I've been working on the most now. And so KS resin is a little bit more expensive, and so KS resin pricing compared to CrystaLac pricing is very similar from what I've seen so far, with the number of coats that you're leveraging for CrystaLac versus epoxy. It is pretty similarly priced, potentially 20 to 30 cents more a cup. But you're saving on a lot of other things. For example, I don't wear gloves anymore. I don't wear gloves to apply CrystaLac. I don't need to. It's water-based. It washes off in the sink in minutes. So I don't need gloves. So there goes one cost. I don't know about you, but I was going through gloves like no other with epoxy. So there's things like that you save on as well. So in my mind, it pretty much evens out. So on a pricing side of things, they're both very similarly priced or cost to you as you're making them. I think those are some of the main things. Now, what I'm hoping to do here is is to help folks move from epoxy to CrystaLac. And what I want to do here on my YouTube channel is basically showcase my journey as I go through it. I've been working on CrystaLac cups for 2 months now. Obviously, I've learned some things. I've learned some things from others, but there's still tons to learn. And so I figured the best thing would be is to showcase that with you. There's not a lot of tutorials out there right now with CrystaLac, and due to the fact that it's such a different product than epoxy, it takes some modifications. I can't use the same process that I use for epoxy on my CrystaLac tumblers, and it's really critical. There's things you can't use with it. There's things that you have to wait to gas off before you can leverage the CrystaLac product. There's a lot of do's and don'ts. And so you really need to understand all of that before jumping in. And so since there's not a ton of tutorials out there, my goal is to be able to help with that and showcase the journey and learn with you and help you get to potentially a safer solution for tumblers. So if you'd I'd love you to like my video, and I would even more love it if you could smash that subscribe button below so that you can follow me on this journey. And let me know below, comment below and tell me what product you're using. Would you consider switching to CrystaLac? Are you looking for a safer alternative? Or maybe you have and want to know a different tutorial that you would like me to do. Is there a certain technique that you'd love to see within a CrystaLac cup? I would love to hear that from you guys. So let me know below. Until next time, I will talk to you then. Bye.